Does anyone know what today is, apart from being a great day in Sun Valley? Is it the first day of summer?
It is.
God, I feel like summer's been around for a while, but it's ALS Day. It's World ALS Day today. And we're going to tell a story about, I think, what's the most important project that for FairShare we've definitely done in the 6 years that we've been around. But before I start that, I'm going to just do a little bit of explanation really about what we do, because sometimes when we talk about FairShare, people aren't entirely clear about how you put projects together, the importance of storytelling and why it matters. So this is Joslin. Joslin's the head of global media and brand and everything that's kind of relevant around storytelling for iRobot. Tell us a little bit about how long you've been there, what your job is.
So I've been with iRobot for 2 years. I come from marketing background. I grew up in the ad industry, at an ad agency for quite a long time, and transitioned onto the client side of things, working for brands to put these stories forward and market our products. So within the last 2 years, a lot of what we've been doing is focused on the products themselves and talking about the techs and specs of what goes into the Roomba and our robotics that are helping people's lives. But this gets a little bit deeper into how we're making an impact.
So this is a little bit, I'm going to start with a little bit of a vision about FairShare, just a couple of slides, and then you'll understand how this, if you like, sets the scene. But based on my experience, as Amy mentioned, about spending more years than I care to imagine in the advertising industry, I describe myself as a recovering ad exec, and then spending that time at The Guardian. FairShare tries to bring the best of those things together. We understand that we live in a capitalist world. We're not anti-capitalist. We're not a non-profit. We're a benefit corp. But our vision, if you like, is to help rebalance profit and purpose in a capitalist world. How do we help leaders of business corporations deliver on their KPIs, their corporate KPIs, their goals for their shareholders, but how do we do it in a way that has more benefit to society and to our planet? And so we think of ourselves like this. We think of ourselves really as the bridge between corporations and communities engaging impact marketing to power profit. Because if we don't believe, and I think we don't believe that the future of the security of our planet and healthier communities will lie in government. We believe that government play an important role in legislation. We believe that billionaires play an important role and that non-profits are an important part of that, and foundations. But we need to persuade big corporations and enterprise business to do the right thing in a manner that actually allows them to grow and prosper as businesses. So that's the thing that we do. And we're a bit different in the sense that we don't think of ourselves as an agency. So we don't think of clients as clients, we think about them as partners. We don't think about campaigns. Campaigns are what agencies do. Campaigns are what clients talk about in quarterly results. We like to talk about journeys. If you're a Nobel Peace Prize winner, you don't go on a campaign, you go on a journey of life. When we talk about those people that inspire us, like Mandela and Gandhi, and anyone we want to think about, they don't run campaigns, they go on a journey through life, and we think we want to persuade businesses and corporations to think about it the same way. Not stunts for quarters, not whether we're going to lean into pride and then lean out of it because we get nervous, not things like that, but get on a journey, and if you get on a journey that's authentic to your business and that your values stand behind it, then it's robust and you can stand behind it in the good times and you can stand behind it in the difficult. So we're not an agency, you are not our client, you are our partner. We don't do pitches because this is not a joke. We're not here, this is not a drill. Yeah? We're here to do meaningful work with a very select amount of clients that we think actually really can dig in and make a difference in the campaign they're doing. So this is the journey we go along. I don't know if you can see, actually it's clear to you, it's not clear on these. You start with a brief, and the first step that we go through is let's antagonize that brief. So we don't just take it like an agency would, like I used to in my old days, right, where you take that brief and get creators in a room and work out how you're going to deliver it. What we do is when we take a brief from a client, we take it to probably the greatest detractors we can find. The activists, the artists, the game changers, the community representation, members of minority communities, the black community, the disability community. That's the secret sauce in our business, is the communities that we sit within. And we ask them to tell us how they would help us do this, right? often that starts with a thing about this is bullshit, we don't believe in it, it's just another corporation. We say, put all that to one side, let's get in a room with optimism, help understand this business needs to make money, understand us how we can do this in a way that you, if you saw this in your social media on a campaign, would buy into. And so it's a very important step that we understand if a client, we go back to a client like iRobot and say, if we're going to do this kind of brief, right, we think we should think about it this way with this kind of community. Are you on board with that? Because if you are, we think we have a community that want to work with you. Go through that, and then the brilliant part, the part we love, is what we call the test kitchen. That's where you get creators, innovators, design thinkers, all those ingredients together, and you work on a sprint to actually create a program and often a story that falls off that. So that can be, in this instance, that can be a 3-day thing where you're working really fast and hard. And in some instances, when we work with low-income communities around how you help build healthier lifestyle habits for low-income black communities, we work with kids on a 12-week sprint last year. So we're going to walk you through in like 2 slides the idea of how this project came to be, and then we're going to talk about that project, the results that we've got so far on it, and then we're going to show you a piece of work that was literally finished editing last night, and you'll be the first people to see it live, which is just the start of this journey.
Yeah.
Joslin, why don't you start by just talking about the brief and how we get to that place?
Yeah, so earlier this year we were talking about iRobot's goals for 2023 and the challenges that we were facing. And we quickly realized that with the changing landscape and the macroeconomic factors that are on people and just the challenges and the headwinds that were against us, we couldn't, if you will, like advertise our way towards a solution. We had to think about it differently. And we were thinking like, let's find a way to drive some emotional connection and start telling some of the great things that iRobot has been doing, truthfully, for its history, but more take it to a specific project and talk about the good in what the engineers put forward. And so we were thinking of this from a brand partnership standpoint, saying who can we work with that can inspire and motivate our engineers to think about solutions for people. And truthfully, the springboard for where we landed, we jumped off from the mission of the company, which is to build the world's most thoughtful and intelligent robotics and home innovations, and all driven towards making life better. So the core of that, and that's pretty hefty, and there's a lot of weight behind it. The core of it is driving thoughtful solutions that solve people's problems. And so to bring that to life, it's like, what does thoughtful mean in a world of smart technology? We talk about smart technology, Sean, and you talked about it last night in terms of we have smart devices, lots of them in our homes, but our homes aren't smart homes yet. But what we're trying to do is leverage thoughtfulness and solve people's problems that they may not even know they need. So for example, the Roomba, thoughtfulness in terms of how Roomba works is it knows what your schedules are for the most part. It understands that your dog's water dish is over there. And instead of vacuuming and bumping into this and creating a larger mess than anyone wants to clean up, it will navigate around it. And they're just different things where if you leave the home, Roomba will say, hey, while you're out, do you want me to clean for you? Like, it's one of those, let me just be a partner in life and help drive ease and solutions for people's lives. So with that in mind, and with the idea of solving people's problems, we wanted to put forward a brief that was inspired by a true community towards our engineers and say, let's see what we can do for them.
Yeah, and there's loads of, most people know iRobot as a company that build Roombas that buzz around your home, but there's an amazing amount of other technology that this company's developed which we don't know about, because I think just from your CEO, you're quite a sort of humble business, whether that's like robots that protect the lives of the military by doing munitions work, or right now with sonar, or what do we call it? The sonar,
the sea glider.
Sea glider.
Yep. So some of those things, the DNA of the company has been built towards solving these problems. So most people are familiar with the Roomba, but we have the robotics technology that has been saving lives both from the military side, or we deploy when there are disasters that happen. So back 2010, Deepwater Horizon, we sent these sea gliders to assess the oil spill and send real-time data back to people to understand how severe it was, which was quite different than some of the numbers that were coming out from other parties involved. Fukushima, when that happened, we sent some robots to assess the structural integrity and, of course, the radiation levels before anybody even went close towards the location. So there's all kinds of stuff that the company has done, and that's kind of behind the scenes. But this is a little bit more forward-facing and saying, let's talk about a community that we can work towards a solution for.
So we took the brief of, if you like, smart made thoughtful, and our first question is, what does thoughtful mean and who's it for? And 25% of America lives with a disability of some kind. So there is, again, a commercial benefit to building more inclusive devices. It's not just because we want to help minority communities, but a significant portion of America lives with challenges of disability. The next step beyond that is, okay, well, what areas do we look at? Do we look at education, senior living, independent living, disabilities, and then we dialed into disabilities. We dialed into disabilities because we have personal connections to it, friends and family that we've lost through ALS. You go down that journey of who's working in ALS, and we found Team Gleason. Team Gleason is a small but mighty non-profit down in New Orleans, founded by the NFL special teams player for the New Orleans Saints, Steve Gleason, who was famous back in the Drew Brees era for that pump block he did on special teams, and then they went on to win the Super Bowl. So he's like an iconic figure, lives with ALS, was given 3 to 4 years to live. 11 years later, he's alive and well, has had 2 children in that period. His non-profit specializes, the focus of it is to improve the quality of life and term of life for ALS sufferers as you go through that, right? There's an incredible amount of work that we could do in this space. So the next step is, let's go down there and find out, right? We can obviously do interviews, we can do Zoom calls, but we need to go and be in the space with these people to understand how them and their families and their communities live. So we go down to New Orleans and we take the great part of this journey, trying to sell it in 15 minutes or 1 minute left, is to where it makes a difference to a company is when you take it out of marketing, you take it into the core of the business. So when we shared this idea with the engineers, they're like, we need to get there. We really want to get on board with this. Why do they want to get on board with it? Because these are super testers. They're not just a community that a company wants to help on the side to say that they do good in the world. They're super testers because if you can design for ALS sufferers, which are essentially in later stages of their illness, are a fully active and fully engaged brain like all of us in this room, in the shell of a body that can only speak with their pupils. So if we can engage and design for this community, we're designing better products for the whole community of humans. So that's the journey that we've been on. We went down to New Orleans literally less than 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago. We spent an incredible amount of time with these sufferers, with their communities. I never understood how powerful, as someone that was trying to work out how do you interview and talk to people that can't speak, can't move, and have zero bodily movement. They can only communicate with you through their eyes. And for the whole team that went down there as a collection from our test kitchen of designers, engineers, storytellers, it was extremely powerful and emotional experience to see the life and the joy and the interaction and leadership from this community. These are the lessons we learn. They're very powerful and important, and I won't have time to go through them, but the 90-10 rule is probably the most powerful thing we learn. 90% of ALS sufferers don't go to the final stage, which they're capable of, like Steve did, as having a tracheotomy and living off a machine, right, of artificial respiration. The question is, why do 90% not choose to go through with that? If you go to countries like Israel, Switzerland, and Scandinavia, the facts are exactly the opposite. In those countries, 90% of people do. So why do people in America not go through to that next stage? Because they can't afford it, because their families can't handle, it's a huge stress on their family and carers to take care of them, and they just are exhausted and are ready to go. In other countries, the healthcare system is different. They have the support 24/7, and so 90% go through because the system looks after them and cares for them. So there's a big issue there. The second point is that these, as I said, these marginalized communities are super testers. They're a commercially valuable audience.
They're super testers, and it's one of those, like, if we understand the problems that they're facing, and if we can just unlock a solution to help them partially in their life, there is such a broader extent that we can expand this and bring it to the masses.
The third point is there are no smart homes. When you go and sit with these people in a home, there are homes full of smart devices. The good point about the iRobot engineers is they're agnostic of all technology, but there are great Apple homes and people have great Microsoft homes or Google homes. Those systems don't talk to each other, they don't communicate. So if you are a person living with disability, first of all, you've got loads of devices that all want different apps and different platforms to work on. And the second thing is they all need to be set up from your phone. That's not very easy to do when you could only communicate or do anything with the pupils of your eye. The third point is the barriers to fourth is that barriers to inclusivity are not tech. This is the Becker board. The shirt I'm wearing here is called the Becker board. It was invented by a gentleman called Jason Becker. It's still the most effective way that somebody can communicate with their partner with ALS. Is you basically you use your pupils to direct that person left, right, center with your eyes, and then you tell them what letter it is by the movement of the pupil. So the maximum, it's still the fastest, with all the technology we have, it's still the fastest way to communicate. If we can fly drones in other countries, and if we can drive home drunk in our Teslas, a wheelchair, an automated wheelchair can't navigate this room, it can't navigate the restaurant we were in last night. So all the technology is there, the barriers aren't there, the issues around things like bureaucracy, liability, and funding. A fully automated chair that can be driven with your eyes is like a $40,000 cost. Yes, we've got to wrap up. So I will finish on these points. What I'd like to do is just finish on this by sharing the first part of this story. This is the experience that we had speaking with Steve Gleason and his team down in New Orleans. The next phase of this story is we'll be up in the labs of Boston with iRobot, where the engineers will be company-wide hacking solutions to improve the quality of life.
Yeah, so I'll just say this is essentially chapter 1 of the journey. So let's roll.
We all need to do this. We'll talk about that over dinner for those that are around. Photopho with your mofos. We need to get closer and more personal with each other. That's how Steve gives you a bro hug.
When you look at the world through my eyes, what do you see? I see a world where we keep exploring how to serve others, how to care for them, and how to love our human family.
I see the world as a place full of magic and where people are amazing.
I see a world of endless possibilities.
I see a world where moms and dads can still hug their children.
I see a world where we all embrace life like my dad.
I see a world where ALS sufferers get the help they deserve.
I see a world where living with the disease becomes a lot easier through technology and research.
I see a world where we listen to humans, and that leads to more helpful robots.
I see a world where I don't have to lose anybody else that I care about.
I see a world where we see good in everyone.
ALS is a terminal neuromuscular disease impacting nearly 35,000 Americans daily. When even the simplest tasks are difficult, every moment matters. Because every moment is a gift, and the most precious gifts are the most thoughtful. On World ALS Day, thank you Team Gleason for inspiring us to be better, smarter, and more thoughtful. Please donate at www.teamgleason.org. And thank you, iRobot, for helping power independent living for all. iRobot, smart made thoughtful.
Thank you.